Hi, my name is Angus Junkin, founder of BotanaWorld and inventor of SoilWand. And today I want to talk to you about SoilWand. Specifically, I want to talk to you about using SoilWand in a mixed perennial bed and dealing with weeds. And in this case, we've got a weed that's called creeping buttercup. And it's just like the buttercup you know, except for it's a very invasive species. And it's a buttercup that spreads and pushes out in a very, very strong, durable mat. It pushes out other weeds and it prevents them from getting through, and it starts to creep and push its way out throughout the garden. So it's a weed that is a real pain in the neck, and you really have to get at it very quickly, otherwise it'll spread by seed and just by its ability to create this big, thick, fibrous mat. It's a tough weed to get out because it's got a root system that if you break off and leave behind some of the roots, then they will regrow and you'll get the buttercup coming back. In addition, it's not an easy weed to pull out by hand because it is so embedded and it really has a very aggressive root system that bites into the soil. So all of that being said, it's a weed that you need to deal with, and it's a weed that I think is worth highlighting here because it really is going to show you the value of SoilWand. I've got two different configurations here today of SoilWand. They're both configurations use the diamond cultivator tool head. These are my sort of like precision weeding configurations that I love. There's this angled configuration and then there's this trowel configuration. And both of these configurations are really great for weeding. And what's so unique about SoilWand and so special about it, and one of the key benefits, is that you can not only change the tool heads, but you can change the angle of the tool head. And by doing so, you've created totally different tools out of the same tool head. So you get all these different uses and functions, and this really comes in to play in a situation like this where you've got creeping buttercup in here in a perennial bed. In this case, we've got a stone crop, yellow stone crop growing, and I want to try to save that, and I want to get in here and get the creeping buttercup out. But it's in there and it's hard to get, it's hard to find. This diamond cultivator tool head, it's set at this angle, is great for weeding and prying out weeds and getting in there and pulling them out, roots and all. But when you're dealing with things like ground cover and stuff, it's a little harder to get in there and not tear everything up. So it's a great example of where you can come in with this trowel configuration and you can just work your way in there and tease out the weeds and get them out and try to keep the stone crop, in this case, relatively intact. So let's go ahead and take you through a weeding session using SoilWand. We're going to play with both configurations of the diamond cultivator head, both in the trowel configuration and at this angled configuration, so you can see how they work and what they can do for you in the garden and get a better sense of how great this tool is and how much you're going to love it. So let's go and let's give it a shot. Okay, so here's the creeping buttercup, and I want to go ahead and get in here. I'm going to find a place. I actually like to use I like to have one hand gloved, and I like to keep the other hand not gloved because it gives me the ability to get in there and get the weeds out. And it really, this is a key highlight I always emphasize with SoilWand, is that this is really a great assist tool, because sometimes you're going to get in there and it's going to help you get the weed loose so you can pull it out. Creeping buttercup, it's hard to find one here that I can show you directly, but it's really matted in here. We'll try to get a close-up a little later so you can see, but if you try to pull it out, it just takes a lot. It's a lot of work. And there, I just broke it off. So I broke it off, and the rest is left behind, and I can't get it out. And that's where SoilWand comes in, because I can get in here with one hand, two hands, get in there, and just give it a little wedge, work around the tool, and tease it out. And there you go. You can see how I got it out, roots and all, and I got most of those roots out. That shouldn't grow back. That is a fully removed creeping buttercup. So that's an example of where SoilWand acts as a great assist tool, and it can really help you in the garden. And we'll just work through here and kind of get a sense. The other area that's really great about SoilWand, especially in this trowel configuration, is that I can go in here, and you've got this stone crop in here interspersed amongst the buttercup, so I can push things out of the way, and then I can work in here, find the base of the creeping buttercup, and just give it a little pull and a tug and a wedge, and then there you go. Came right out. That's really nice. And you can do this with a dandelion weeder, you can do it with a trowel, but this tool head is so nice because it's tapered and it allows you to get in there and, you know, find the root, slice right in there, not tear everything else apart, but at the same time it's wide enough near the top that you can really get some leverage and get everything encapsulated in that tool head. It's a great combination. It's a great setup for weeding. So I'm going to go ahead, I don't really have a place to put these weeds, but we're going to toss them over here in a pile and we'll get them later. But let's just go through. And again, you got to keep working. It takes a little time because you got to find the base of the weed, and then you just give it a little tug and a loosen and it comes out, roots and all. So you can just work your way through. The nice thing about creeping buttercup is you can tell what it is when you look down. It's got a very distinct sort of flat, almost carrot-like appearance. So when you see that, you know you can go after it, and then you just take care of the problem. So I like just to kind of track it, find out where it is. I'm trying to keep everything else intact. You're gonna lift some other things up while you're at it. It's not gonna be a perfect thing, but it's gonna be pretty darn good and pretty precise. So, and I like to follow the actual stems down to find my way to the base, and then I just get in there holding the base with my hand and carefully, you want to poke yourself, but just carefully work the SoilWand diamond cultivator tool head in there so you can get out the weed, and then you just continue on and do that. And it takes time. This is not an overnight thing. It's a task that takes a little effort and time, because if you let creeping buttercup get established like it's happened here, it's going to kind of spread and take over, and eventually, again, it's going to push everything else out, and you're going to end up with nothing but creeping buttercup, and eventually it's going to spread throughout the garden and become a real problem. I guess some of the weeds that are taller, like this variegated Solomon seal, will be fine, but anything that's low growing is really going to have a hard time. So it's just a kind of a process you have to go through, find those stems, track them down, and then get in there, use the tool. I love the extended reach of the handle, so you can get in here and really work everything out, and then you just find those roots and find that buttercup, creeping buttercup, and then you're good to go. And that's the process. And it's such a good assist tool. You can feel as you're pulling, sometimes you feel like you're gonna break the weed, and you just kind of move the tool around a little more, give it a little extra wedge, and it just releases the roots and gets you where you need to be and helps you get the weed out, roots and all. And so much of weeding, you got to use your hands, and you got to be down on your hands and knees. You can't just do it from afar. You know, you couldn't do this with a hoe or a scuffle weeder or something like that, because there's just too much stuff to work around. So you got to get down, and this gives you that SoilWand gives you the extra reach. So I'm on my knees, and I'm very relaxed, and it's nice, and I'm able to kind of sit back and lean back. I don't have to be hunched over with the tool trying to get in there. I've got nice reach, and that's really a nice attribute. And that's what's so nice about the tool, is it's got the reach in addition to the power, in addition to the leverage, in addition to the strength, in addition to the precision. So it's just so many layers to this tool. I sort of like to use the term, it's a multi-dimensional tool, because it really does transform in all these different configurations and different dimensions, and it just depends on what you're doing in the garden, how you want to use it. And we're just going to continue going through here. This stuff is tough. Unfortunately, see there, it's all commingled. I got a little stone crop in there, but that'll grow back. And you just got to stick with it and keep at it. And you don't have to do this in one day. If you want to kind of do it in chunks, if you need some downtime and you want to do something, you can get in there and go after it over the period of a few days, a week, or whatever. The big thing is you want to get it before it goes to seed. So it's earlier spring right now, but later on it'll start to go to seed, and that's just going to spread more stuff that you're going to have to deal with either this year or next year, depending on the time of the year. And it's nice. It's hard to see over here, but you can see it's more of a mat. And now I can just come in here and go after it a little more aggressively without having to worry about other plants that are in the way. So I can slide in SoilWand kind of at an angle, come in underneath, just kind of lift up big areas of the soil, loosen everything up, and just give it a nice lever and get out a big clump of it. There's a big clump, multiple weeds all in one clump there that I got out. So that's the trowel head configuration using the diamond cultivator head. It's flipped around. The head's facing upward, the opposite direction from the downward facing curves on the shaft. That's a great configuration. I just love it. And I love that you can hold this with two hands and really get in there and wedge. You can really, if you got hard soils, you can really pound into the soil and not beat your body up and your wrists up especially. It gives you a lot of extra leverage and power, all in a nice compact format. So that's that. The other head here, I want to show you. I'm going to just reach across here. I can show you how this head works. This is the same head. It's the diamond cultivator tool head, but it's at this angle. So now I can come in, I can find the weeds. In this case, this is all creeping buttercup, and I can use it kind of like when you're ice climbing. You just kind of set the head into the ice. You just thunk. It's sort of dirt. You're dirt climbing, and here you go. You pull it out, roots and all, that way. And what's nice about this is it's more about getting in underneath and pulling, and it's just a nice motion for the body in terms of conserving energy. You're able to use I'm able to use the weight of my body to pull back and get the weed out rather than using just my arm, or I can use my whole body. And it's a nice way of using the tool. It really makes life easier. Here's some Iris cristata in there that was trying to get a toehold, and then all the creeping buttercup came along and pushed it out. Iris cristata is a pretty good ground cover. It's relatively aggressive too. Not as aggressive and invasive. Certainly it's not invasive. It's not from Europe. It's a native to the US. But you can see here, we're doing the same thing with the same tool head. We're using the same tool head, and we're weeding, but we're doing it a different way. And it's allowing us to get in here. And I like it because you can really just kind of tease. There's some sorrel, wood sorrel, or you can really tease things out. There's a little of that. We got hit an Iris cristata by accident, but you can just work it by using that pulling power and just ripping the weeds out. It's so wonderful to work with. If you love working in a perennial bed, if this is where you spend your time, this is such a great tool to have because you can change it and you can adapt it to your needs at any given time. And you don't need a bucket of tools and you got to try to figure out which one sort of works best. You really can drive this thing exactly the way you want it to perform for you. And that's what's so wonderful about SoilWand. And that's what's so wonderful about working in the garden with the tool. It's really a great all-around tool that does so many things so well. And that's really unique. And a multi-tool, lots of multi-tools out there are nice, when you're in a bind and you're camping and, you need a screwdriver. Well, multi-tool may give you a screwdriver, but it's not the best screwdriver in the world. SoilWand is like a multi-tool that is really good at a lot of things. In fact, it's probably the best at a lot of things, in terms of what it can do for you in the garden in certain areas. And that's what's so unique. It's really good at a lot of different things. So I hope today's weeding session of creeping buttercup is giving you an idea of what SoilWand can do for you in the garden. If you're an avid perennial gardener, if you're doing a lot of bed preparation and things like that, this is a great tool. It's a must-have tool to add to your collection. And you're going to find that it's just going to be something you're going to always want to have. You're going to have sort of favorite positions with the heads depending on the time of the year and what you're doing. I like this position and the trowel head position for planting, for weeding, for all those types of things. This is a real go-to tool for me. And I haven't even gotten into the fact that you can put another tool head on the other side, and now you can do other things and other functions with the same handle and the same tool all at the same time. So you don't have to get up from what you're doing. You can just flip the tool head around and do something else, or go after a weed or a plant that needs to be attacked from a different position or a different angle. So lots of different versatility, lots of uses for the tool. I hope that gives you a good sense of what we can do with SoilWand, and thanks so much for listening.